This week I have Twinless, which is a film about two young men in a twin support group. And this is written by, starring, and directed by James Sweeney. And oftentimes when you have these trifecta films where somebody is in so many roles for something, it usually goes one of two ways. It's either going to be catastrophic because they don't have the ability to objectively edit themselves, or it's a very pleasant film, and in this case, I found this to be a pleasantly surprising creative endeavor. So James Sweeney and Dylan O'Brien star as the two people in the twin support group, and I gotta say, Dylan O'Brien's ability to portray the nuances of two different characters who are also very similar, both from a physical standpoint and just, inhabiting these slightly different people, was really impressive. This film is funny and weird and dark, and there's another film that is in a vaguely tangential way that stars even bigger people, and I was watching this Twinless, and I'll talk about the other film when it comes out, but Twinless, I was like, this is actually how you do this type of storyline, where you have characters who are doing potentially unlikable things, but you still are rooting for them. So I think that is a very impressive thing. This is James Sweeney's second feature film, and to be able to deliver that sort of complexity is something that people may never be able to achieve in their film career. So I'll definitely be keeping an eye on James Sweeney. I don't want to go too much more into it, but I also have to say some of the cultural references and time-specific things. I'm like, oh, this person has a vision and they are executing it on a way that is very relatable, and just that level of attention to detail across the board made Twinless a really enjoyable film. I'm going to give this a 4.4 out of 5. The next film I have this week is called The Threesome, and it stars Zoe Deutsch, Jonah Hauer-King, and Ruby Cruz. And if you are not familiar with the last two, Jonah Hauer-King was Prince Eric in the recent live-action remake of The Little Mermaid, and Ruby Cruz was in Bottoms, and also the Disney Plus reboot of Willow. So this is about a threesome. Shocking, I know. It is about, the dynamics between this group of people who engage in a threesome and the fallout of all the things that come from that. And I went in with zero expectations for this, if not negative expectations, which is not fair necessarily to the film, but, this is not when I was planning on seeing, and then fate brought it to me. So when I saw it, I went, okay, this is slightly better than I expected. Okay, it was better than I expected, I will give it that. But, I think the acting in a lot of cases is relatively one note. And it's not necessarily even the actor's fault. I feel like they were just given very limited bandwidth to play with. My favorite character in this entire film ended up being Jabuki Young White, who is not even one of the main threesome, but he is one of the supporting characters. And, I was just like, this film, I think, tonally is not 100% sure what it wants to do. I think it knows that it actually ends up going to some kind of, I don't know if bleaker is the right word, but we're going to go with bleaker places. And so they had to lighten it up with, characters like Jabuki Young Whites. But as a byproduct of it, it just kind of swings around a lot. And the other thing I found kind of bizarre about this film is that it got, maybe this is just and I acknowledge this often, a coastal bias of mine, but given where the characters are, it felt like it was almost dipping into, I don't know, this is like a pro-life territory. It kind of was, and that's part of the plot, but it's also in the trailers. But yeah, the thing about this film is I was like, would I recommend this to anybody? I don't honestly know. Perhaps if you are a huge fan of any of the performers involved, it would be worth seeing. But, in terms of originality, we've kind of seen this before. In terms of, chemistry between the leads, it's there, but it is not enough to carry the film. I talk about this a lot. Good chemistry between performers can make or break a film. It can make a great script terrible, and it can make a mediocre script amazing. This falls into the category of, on all fronts, which, that's not a strong recommendation. Now, is it the worst thing I've ever seen? No, absolutely not. But I think unless you see the trailer and go, yeah, this film's really for me, I'm not strongly recommending you guys see it. If this happened to be playing at some point on streaming, it is in theaters now, but, I will say when it comes out on streaming and you're like, I need maybe a background watch, or I am interested enough, then go ahead. I'm not going to warn you away from it, but I didn't find there to be any particularly outstanding qualities to it. I'm going to give this a 3.5 out of 5. The last thing I have this week is The Paper, and this is the spinoff of The Office, and boy howdy, is this just kind of The Office, reduce, reuse, recycle, which is what you should do with your real paper. And I think, I'm not going to impugn it and do the reduce part, but it is one of those things where I'm like, oh, we really, really stuck to the source material playbook here. Obviously, some of the cast even is carrying over. Oscar Nunez reprises his role. You'll see a few other people, if you watched The Office, that you will be familiar with. This time around, it takes place at a newspaper in a slightly larger town. And, this is a tried and true formula. I think shows like The Office and Parks and Rec got a lot of us through the pandemic. They are comfort watches, etc. And I think, I don't want to be, I enjoyed the show, I want to be clear, but it is very clearly a Xerox copy, right? And so it's very close, but maybe something's just a little bit off in the transition. We've definitely got a lot of the kind of archetypes that we've seen on this variety of show. This is not just limited to The Office. Domhnall Gleeson plays the new boss who, I'm grateful, he's more of a Leslie Knope than a Michael Scott. I have to give credit to The Office and Parks and Rec, in which I can say something like, they're more like a Leslie Knope than a Michael Scott, and a good number of people are going to understand what I am referencing. But the point is, Domhnall Gleeson plays the new editor-in-chief of this newspaper. He is a go-getter. He is gung-ho. He wants to bring print journalism back, which, as somebody, you are listening to this, and I'm in a semi-journalistic field, basically, there were a lot of very triggering things in this. So I will say, if you work in anything related to the news or reporting or etc., you will cringe a lot at this in a good way, in the same way you will cringe at anybody who works in a communal workspace like an office. You've also got Sabrina Impacciatore from White Lotus, who she's a great actress, but her character is so frustrating to me in a successful way. You've also got Chelsea Frey, Melvin Gregg, Alex Edelman, Ramona Young, and, I think the ensemble works. It's 10 episodes. It is already out. There's a good chance you're going to watch it, and I don't feel like it'll be memorable yet in a way like Parks and Rec or The Office is. Big shoes to fill, obviously. I don't know if it has the same level of quotable bit or replay value, but I definitely see the potential in the show. Again, I enjoyed it. It's a light, breezy watch. If you are tired of your comfort watches but need something that's almost in the exact same flavor, this is perfect for you. Don't go into this thinking this is going to be The Office level or Parks and Rec, etc. But if you also look at those first few seasons of those shows, it took them a minute to get off the ground. In the case of The Office, it was trying to figure out what it was in comparison to the British one. And in the case of Parks and Rec, it was trying to figure out what it was in comparison to The Office. So giving it a chance, certainly, and there's no reason not to give it a chance, to be clear. Like I said, this is a Xerox copy. It's very close. It's got all the things there that you are going to expect from it, the 2 camera addresses, the similar character dynamics, but I would certainly like to see this develop its own personality. This is streaming now on Peacock.